set up for Laser Kittens, and they're set up in one of the spots that you want to get set up in here. They've got people spread out a little bit. I think the Tracer might head out and look for a little bit of early damage. And so some teams that set up very aggressive, and a lot of this is, how does the early damage look for us? Does Munchkin get in there? Does he head clip someone early on, and then can we dive in? Or does it look bad for us and you can still retreat in the high ground? So it gives you options.
We might take a look at the offense here coming out from Misfits. You will have Manitin on the Widowmaker, and you take a look at Tavik going to go straight on the Tracer. And the reason why you come out with the early Widow here that we see pretty standard here in Gibraltar is that you want to deal with early dive, but Munchkin finds Manitin immediately. The quick Tracer flank does its work, and LK immediately catching Misfits off guard. And this is what you look for in an early dive defense. You want to get that early kill and just buy time at the front.
Yeah, unfortunately, though, Mazauza went in afterwards, and they really didn't have any targets. Munchkin had already done it by himself, already got 2 kills that they wanted. He went in a little bit late to the party. Sometimes I feel like Winston's mail gets lost. He just gets lost in translation. There's a lot of times where he can look bad on dives because of that, but this defense looking great, looking to stabilize up top now, not having to give up much ground.
They bent back a little bit, but they're able to go forward. That said, Tavik goes in, good pulse bomb on Tiana, and that will force Laser Kittens back here. The reason is that now they have way less healing. They're not going to be able to support their team, and Manitin just crunches Krems with a Helix Rocket delivered right to the face. So now Misfits will be able to get some momentum in their favor, and they're getting quite a bit of momentum here, Hex. They might be able to ride this all the way to the first point.
They were doing well, but those late kills are the really pivotal ones right there because they're able to get 2. I almost got it out. I swear I almost had that word correct. I don't know what is broken in my brain, but they don't want to split spawn anymore. They don't want anyone else to go in and come back. They're trying to send these 4 back just to be able to hold pack room, and they get a couple kills off it.
Yeah, they're actually holding this room rather well here. They just threw all their tanks inside, were able to take care of the front line of Misfits, including Reinforce, and now this is going to give a period for Laser Kittens to regroup and reset, which is really important in hangar phase because if you get dominated by split spawns early on, it can be very difficult to come back in and have that good defense.
I thought it was really smart to retreat there with the 4, especially with those late kills, that late stagger that came out in the end there. They needed to keep those 4 alive to have any chance. And I also like where they set up, hanging out in pack room, hanging out in Mega. If you lose one of your supports, you have a second support just sitting on the ground.
Indeed. This time, though, Misfits coming in and prioritizing the hangar, trying to remove Laser Kittens from the top. But here's the Dragon Blade from Nevix, looking to put that forward, countered by the Transcendence of Lime Pro. So it's going to be a bit of a wash there early on, but Tavik has found his way to the back, able to get on the Winston, and now is a threat there while Misfits come in through the front. Reinforce able to back out well, now going back in. So Misfits has a pretty good ebb and flow going here, but it's Munchkin able to turn the tide, sticks Reinforce, and keeps LK in this fight.
I think Reinforce expected to have a bigger impact over the top with his Primal Rage on the shuttle. He was unable to knock the Transcending Zenyatta off. He was able to keep whoever he wanted to alive down there, and then his reward for his hard efforts was to get Pulse Bomb. The Sound Barrier will come in, though, for the offense.
Misfits doubles down, and it is a boon to them. They get 4 kills immediately off of that Sound Barrier. It was well-timed, and LK now in a bit of a dilemma, because if they come back out, maybe they get a good delay. But if it's not resulting in kills early on, they could just feed Ult Charge and Misfits, which will power them up for the final attack. But LK, they are going to take that gamble. They are going to move in, and for now, it's somewhat even, but Misfits starting to punish a bit here, Hex, as the Dragon Blade comes out.
I think the reason they came in here as opposed to the other time is they had the numbers up there and they had some ults to be able to work with, but the ults come out from the other side. Nevix brings it back with a blade, but I think Laser Kittens wanted to come in and fight at least there, but this is the fallout from it. You get these split spawns late, and now you're going to give up a lot of large push up onto the ramp.
I would say that wasn't ideal for Laser Kittens, but it could have been worse. At the very least, they did force Misfits to burn Blade and invest a little bit into finishing that out. But even still, they're going to have options going in here. Manitin can secure the high ground, is going to have Attack Visor supporting him. They can dive in with Transcendence. This is not a bad position for Misfits to be in to finish out Gibraltar with what would be an incredibly quick time.
Now, Tavik has already secured the high ground up here, too, and we see he does land the Pulse Bomb onto Gray, the stick right there. That is huge for them, too. Nana's such a big part of this comp.
Tavik just goes in, sets him up for a quick 65, and the carnage continues. There is no backbone on Misfits as they dive relentlessly in the LK. The early pickoff set the stage, and that is a full team wipe in favor of Misfits. Now very close to punching this one in with what would be over 3.5 minutes. That is an insane time here on Gibraltar.
Gray comes out in desperation mode onto the Sombra here that he can flex on from time to time. Tries to get up top to take down Tavik because he knows that they can't just cede that high ground to a soldier. Munchkin dies of his own accord, and they're rolling through. No one there to contest the cart. Gray unable to get out of spawn. that, you know, I've seen a lot of Overwatch. I'm gonna go ahead and just say it's a pretty quick time. Pretty quick time on Gibraltar.
Well, it was very good, and again, you take a look at what Misfits was saying in the aftermath of TakeOver, where they said very publicly, look guys, we didn't feel we played up to our potential. You saw a little bit of it in our final game versus Movie Stars, but other than that, it wasn't great for us. And you take a look at them here versus Laserkins, it was a much better showing.
They look great. They looked unstoppable. Really, the only person who had a lot of standout moments for Kittenz was Munchkin. In the few fights that they did win, especially early on, his Tracer play was exceptional, so we'll continue to look out through that throughout the day. But I don't know. Now I'm kind of regretting. Maybe they should come in on second and stall out. A lot of the things we've seen in North America lately, and not to draw too many parallels, but you don't want to give up any moment for free. And
Yeah.
even in Europe, I mean, that's kind of the rogue style too. Don't give up anything for free. Deal with your stagger later.
It's always this risk-reward hex that
Yeah.
teams are looking at here, where do we go in and stagger? How long do we have to stagger to make this worthwhile? And are we going to do it well enough that we don't give the team the weapons they need to just finish out the map with authority? And it didn't quite work out for Laserkins there. Misfits, after what was somewhat shaky start in first, really got momentum and didn't let it go for most of the map. Yes, Laserkins did reestablish for a bit in second, but they only held it for one push, and Misfits was able to exploit weaknesses in the back. And for me, oh man, is this where we've got here, where we're doing combination emotes? It's not just Winston dance anymore. You got to mix in some push-ups too.
Well, you mentioned about the risk and reward, and on Gibraltar, the stakes are even higher. It's because of the split spawn possibilities, and they wanted to avoid that on second, which they did. Worked out for them. Did not work out on last, and you know that if you stagger, you're going to double stagger. Looking to set up for a very aggressive defense, a little bit of a different style. I don't see necessarily what Tavik is set up, but it doesn't look as far into the back line. This is going to rely maybe on trying to get a lot of early cleave damage and see where they can actually set up top here.
Well, Misfits certainly is not posturing to give up too much for free here. I do think they're going to dive into LK sooner rather than later. And again, you take a look at Tavik, he's just waiting to see, all right, is the Widow going to come up there? Can I bop it early on? Not quite the position he was looking for, but now you see Misfits just winds it back up, and oh, what a shot from Krems. That takes Tavik down very early here, and it's a great opportunity for LK. They get the 6v5 they're looking for, and they can pile on pressure the Misfits. And if Misfits isn't careful, this will go all the way to first, so they do need the reset here.
Tavik was looking for Krems. Krems found Tavik in that game of hide and seek there, and a damage-boosted Widow as they're trying to get out. Now, this is so great because look what Kib's doing. He's just going to be scouting up top, calling targets as they come around corners that he sees them. He's going to shut down that far door with that shuriken spam, and Krems is going to keep eyes on the other one.
Munchkin not able to win that Tracer fight, goes down to Tavik, and now Misfits going to be giving LK a taste of their own medicine. Now it's them with the early advantage, and they press it early on. They get right into server room, remove LK from here immediately, and this should result in a full reset from the offense. So even though it was a tough start for Misfits, they immediately rebound and regain control.
A beautiful read on their options there, knowing that we can't go top left, we can't go top right, so they went in bottom left and got the support that they needed to rotate around, use some of the architecture to their advantage, and able to fly around to that server room. So a beautiful read and recovery there from Misfits, as now they're just in position where they started the map on defense.
And the one that I want to watch here is Tavik, where he does have the pulse bomb up, and we see over and over again in recent times that Tracers are able to end pushes before they begin with a well-placed spot. This one doesn't quite connect. And now with Nevik's going down, LK with a chance to move in again, where Krebs has been very much on point this Widow Hex, opening up early kills for LK in this map here so far, and it very well could lead to them taking first relatively easily here.
Krebs is playing beautifully, and you can tell just because he was the pulse bomb target. That's just mad respect right there. When the Widow is your pulse bomb target, you go in, and then you see how the dominoes fall immediately after. You miss that pulse bomb, Nevix then gets headshot, a pulse bomb comes out from the Laser Kittens, but here comes a Blade trying to save it.
The Blade's coming in, Nevix gets right to the back line. Meanwhile, you have Mao just taking a nap in the front. I wonder if this is enough for Misfits. Nevix has opened the door for Misfits to come back in, and they are swarming on the payload. But for me, that was a great sleep dart by Zebo to stop what would have been very big disruption coming in from Mao.
I just love that they've clearly identified that Widow as the problem, because they sent the Blade right after Widow too. Like, that is a level of respect you don't often see Widows paid in this game, but being the carry that he is right now, Krem's getting the damage boost. They know that that's the main strategy. They're not setting the Winston up there just to die either.
Well, Kib, a Dragon Blade of his own, moving to the back line, and he is on a rampage. Has two here so far. Resurrection is going to come in. LK is all in on this push. They don't want to linger here much longer, and frankly, they can't. Only a minute is left, but they will be adding on to that time. They get into hangar. Now we get to see if they get a few free kills here as Misfits starts to respawn.
Perhaps a late transcend, but as you mentioned, with a minute left, you're all in. Do you really want to look back and did we lose a map because we were greedy on a transcendence? But it's something that they would probably like to have in here as the alt economy has shifted very largely in favor, but the great positioning here for them. And right now, it's going to be a matter of can Misfits adjust and find another entry because that door is closed essentially.
Misfits has been very good at regrouping here so far. This is one of the harder times of Reinforce, but they do get to the back. Manitin catching them off guard with the nano visor, just cleaning house. LK did not expect that mode of entry coming in from Misfits, and as a result, Misfits is rewarded with the ability to fully reset here in the hangar.
Well, that's twice now they've surprised them on re-entering because they're watching these one doors, a Widow scoped in, and they know that that's where teams typically come in. Again, Misfits reads it, reacts, able to completely blindside them.
Just another quick instant replay of the carnage that Manitin wrought, but meanwhile you see Tvik on the main live window, throws out the pulse bomb, and just, again, trying to delay LK, not give them a great initiation. And you see Tracers do this a whole lot here on defense. LK, though, still moving forward, trying to play the payload a little bit more than not. And Misfits, they're rather spread out in the defense here. They're making LK come to them so they can come in and swarm all around them. But this time it doesn't quite work out for Misfits. They lose 2 early on, and this has been very back and forth, Hex.
Well, that's a great job by LK just to win their duels. As you mentioned, everyone was spread out there. We saw it on our free cam that there was a lot going on in different directions. There was a leap in, and pretty much everyone had to take a 1v1 in that situation, and Laser Kittenz dominated their 1v1s. They went 4-0 in them. Misfits
can still delay here, and Nevix still has the blade, so if there was a hero moment, it would be coming out here from Nevix. Misfits reinforcing. Where is Nevix? Is the blade going to be coming out? The blade is out, but so is Kibbs. Both Genjis slicing their way through this point, but it's going to be a little bit more effective for Laserkins this time around, as they are up in numbers, and yet Misfits still fighting. Reinforce still very much controlling space in and around the payload, and now, off of Reinforce's tank play, they might be pushing this one back, Hex.
I'm just not sure that they're giving their own Winston the support he needs while they are getting pushed back on their 1v1s. You can kind of collapse on your DPS there. When your Winston's down taking a 1v2, why not give everyone else a opportunity to get down there and join him and make it a different fight? This, of course, one of the blades that came out earlier from Nevix as dueling blades decided that last fight.
Well, Manitin might have gone a little bit too deep to the well. Krem's able to find his opposite number, sets up LK for the 65, a resurrection in reserve, and with a minute left, Hex, this is LK's opportunity to extend out this map and keep the hope alive. The pulse bomb does connect, but it's still LK with a dominant numbers advantage as they approach second here, and they are piling on. The resurrection gonna be bringing up the fallen, and this should be a clean take of second, albeit highly delayed here for LK.
A little bit late there, but again, you don't want to hold on to those. You see the consequences of the split spawn up in your kill feed there as 2 people had to leap off. That should give a little bit of push. I do want to see the team play a little bit closer to Mazasa. I feel that he finds himself in 1v2s and 1v3s because the DPS get distracted with the fights they want to take. Bring the fight down to him, let him help you out with that cleave damage.
Mazasa has been left out on island multiple times here, but the next fight is underway, and early on, Manitin with the visor gets the better of Brady in the back, and Rocket, a 3-for-1 special delivery courtesy of Manitin.
Achievement unlocked there. It is an achievement, and not the easiest one to get, but when a team lines up for you like that, they seem to be, you know, when a team leaves and another team just sets up a play of the game for someone, it looked like that's what was happening right there.
It's like, everyone, get to the spawn door, we'll be fine. Oh,
can I get the soldier achievement, guys?
Well, something like that. Either way, Reinforce diving right to the back. Primal Rage armed and ready. They're down several early on, so Reinforce isn't going to get the support he really needs here outside the sound barrier. Somewhat of a dicey fight for Misfits with that lack of healing, and LK, they're fighting it right back with the tactical visor. Reinforce gonna have to retreat there in a quick hurry. He leaps out, and LK perhaps has seized a window here off of that early on a kill. They are piling on right now, Hex.
Getting all the kills they need, but they're still really behind on this map. Let's not lose sight of the forest for the trees here. If they don't complete this, that's first map. That's over. That is a stake for this Misfits defense. Tvik has had Munchkin's number, but he gets taken out in turn. He's had the better of the Tracer v Tracer, which can be a volatile matchup.
Well, LK right now is still going to be doing the mega time deficit either way. Here comes Nevix, Dragon Blade out, trying to seal this defense for Misfits, but not very successful. Takes a Helix Rocket in, and LK still a very good position here, but respawns are coming in, so this is not one here just yet. Misfits can still delay this out at least a little bit more. Tvik, first man up, in and around the payload, gets to rewind his health back. Misfits now starting to stream back in, and LK, they need need to get a few more kills to push us in here because Misfits is quickly regrouping. And now with Lucio going down, LK now in dire straits. They do not have the respawn advantage here, and we are in overtime. They must push this through, Hex.
Well, Mazasa's in here now with the help of his friends as they do rally around the cart. He's going to get a little cleave damage, but here comes Kib trying to close it out.
Kib, one of the original sushi chefs, one who bore the name, moving through, dashing through Misfits left, right, and center. And has he done enough to pull this one back? LK will complete Gibraltar with no time left remaining. And here's the thing to remember, Hex, is that while that's a spirited completion there from LK, Misfits had a much better attack. They have way more time going into this next round, so if LK wants to potentially bring this one back, not only are they going to have a great defense, but they need one of those classic Overwatch overtime pushes where they're in overtime for a good 2 minutes throughout second into third and just keep Misfits perpetually staggered and off their game.
You would have to think, looking at how the last couple of rounds went, that their offense is going to be the better chance because their defense looked somewhat non-existent a little bit there. I think Kib was one of the original... I mean, he might have coined the term as Genji as a sushi chef. He was one of the originals.
That's what I was thinking back here. It's just like, I think Kib, I do think sushi chef, I think that's something he tried to popularize.
Yeah, I think he branded himself as.
Well, I mean, why not? Kib, for a time, had a very good showing with Reunited for quite a while. Wasn't quite prepared. I'm not actually sure what happened there, but he didn't end up going to Korea with Reunited. But now he's back in competition, and a good showing here for LK.
Yeah, there was still a moment at the end where what's been bothering me a little bit of a Laser Kittenz came to fruition, and it was Mozasa again in a 1v3 towards the end on a Winston. He was triangulated, and that's never really somewhere you want to be. It's not where you want to live your life as Winston. That gun cleaves, but it doesn't cleave in a 360.
Not quite. Well, this is going to be the LK attack coming right at you, where I would say, Hex, do you think they have to get through second to have a chance against 4 minutes from Misfits?
I'd say they have to get it at least to the cusp of first, because then that gives their defense at least 2 defensive holds. And they're going with this high-risk, high-reward of the Widow play and giving him all the support he needs, but Nevix takes that line of play away from them.
Nevix was ready this time, went directly where Krems was the first time around, takes him out immediately, and Misfits has way more success with their dive defense this time around. And as a reward, they've taken 30 very vital seconds off the clock for LK. So for LK to have a realistic chance here, not only do they have to win the next fight, Hex, but they have to win many, many fights in a row. If those heroics are going to happen, it's going to have to happen now. I'm curious to see if Krems can start that out on the right foot.
Well, Line Pro's getting dangerously low, and that is as low as it gets, down to 0. This fight, I have to say, is very likely over.
Very good engage coming out there from Reinforced. Caught Misfits off guard. The flanker of Misfits right there with them. And this is just a bloodbath. They don't get that payload very far at all. In fact, I think that's one of the shortest payload progressions we've seen in this 1 minute overtime situation on Gibraltar. So if LK was somehow able to defend this, it would go down in Overwatch history as one of the best defenses of all time, given how far up it is. But realistically, Misfits probably just going to punch this one in rather quickly.
Probably the best defense of all time. I can't think of anything that would be better. What has impressed me so much so far, and I mentioned it in specific cases on the map, and even there with the read on the Widow, yes, that's an adjustment from the first map, but the reads and adjustments Misfits has made against this team is crazy good, considering these teams don't scrim each other. It's not like they play against each other a lot and have scouted out each other's tendencies. Again, no real love lost in this rivalry. They don't necessarily know, but Misfits, just the adjustments on the fly they're making have been impressive.
Yeah, so I mean, you take a look at their early defense there. They absolutely caught LK off guard. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens here. This should be relatively quick for Misfits. I'm just curious to see if Laserkins really positions even further forward than you normally would here, because this is a case where they have to take some sort of risk, right? Where it's just difficult because any kill Misfits gets here very arguably could just lead to the end of the game.
Very likely so. Nevix has been a standout on the Genji for a while as well. We mentioned Kiv, but Nevix also is standing toe-to-toe with him. But they're going to run their defense that worked out the first time, where Munchkin got 2 very early kills, so they've shown flashes of potential great defense.
I'd love to see Tavik stand the Hanzo here. Not going to happen, but that would bring me back to the good old days where he used to run Hanzo all the time on Gibraltar. Instead, they bring out Bastion, and this is actually a really good place for Bastion because they have to defend this far out. They actually kind of have to deal with the Bastion back here, and Manitin more than willing to just hang back, lay in the damage. And this is just a tough position for Laserkins to be in.
It makes perfect sense, too, because they know they defend up there. They know that the Bastion's going to be there. At least it's to crack Winston bubbles, which is essentially where the bulk of his damage has gone into. And they have plenty of time to get this such a short distance that even if this doesn't work out, it doesn't matter all that much. Cracking another shield. They will finally fall, though. Interesting to see what Management does to switch on this.
Well, the important thing there for Laserkins too is that was basically flawless on the defense, where because the payload square is so far up, they lose even one person. That quickly snowballs into a 65 because of where respawns are. So we'll see. Laserkins has burned off 1 minute off the clock. I'm not sure Misfits was going in with the most standard of strategies early on, but Laserkins for now, they're holding relatively firm. That said, they lose Krems early on, and even if they're able to pull this back and full, which it looks like they're doing, Misfits will still have a power play opportunity coming up.
They will, but it's going to be a brief one because Krems does have those Old Man Soldier 76 shoes able to sprint back there, and they should be at full force here. Regardless of if they lose this or not, because there's still 3 minutes left, this has been a pretty impressive defense.
They still have a long way to go until they're out of the danger here, but I'm entertained so far, Laserkins. Show me what you got. Let's see if you can get this a little bit further as I intentionally go full Rick and Morty. But Misfits now looking for the opportunity back, and it's a beautiful pulse bomb to Vic. Opens the door. Nevix can just roll right now. He gets taken out early on, but it doesn't really matter. The damage has been done. Misfits piling on a huge number advantage here as Laserkins loses the last few aspects of their defense, and Misfits will be able to roll this one directly in. There's a little bit of stall coming in, but this diva will be done.
It was a hard ask. It was going to be very difficult to run a flawless defense there. And as I said, I'm still kind of impressed for how long that defense was able to pull it off, but the offense not up to snuff there. With only a minute left on the second push, it was going to be difficult, and the Misfits defense read and adjusted very well.
I think the interesting thing about this is that if Laserkins was able to get at least a little bit more done on their offense in overtime, like maybe, not even getting it through first, but near first.
Near first.
Yeah, they would have had an opportunity to really defend this because their opening was great.
Yeah.
It's just they had no margin for error here. Misfits had too big of an edge from what was a great early attack and then a great defense for overtime. So we'll see. It was a good showing for Misfits.
Yeah, no, and I feel like at the very end there, we saw a little bit of a glimmer of hope from Laserkittens, but they just looked lackluster, honestly, in their first 2 rounds. And you started to see a little bit of a glimmer of hope, even from Kib. I feel like his diva wasn't doing what it needed to do on their first defense. Started to see it activate there a little bit at the end. And then his Genji, he had a few key plays, but he certainly wasn't having the impact that Nevix was.
I really like when teams are able to very quickly identify the problem and not have an ego about it and just go after it. If they're going to run a damage-boosted Widow, you can't just say, well, we'll run our own Widow or whatever. Just go after it. Just deal with it right away. And Krems was hitting early shots. They sent Pulse Bomb after it. They sent Dragon Blade after it. It's the problem. Find the answer.
Yeah, Krems had all sorts of pressure going for him, not only on their first attack, but then when they tried to bring out the Widow on their second attack in extra rounds, well, he had Nevix in his face in the least enjoyable of ways, so he just died immediately, and it was a very good adjustment from Misfits to deal with the threat of that early Widow.
Yeah, no, another thing that we saw here is just the importance of Tracer, and last week Genji really was a big factor, and I expect it to be a big one this time, but both Tracers in this one, Munchkin actually showed himself to be able to really play that well, and he even pulled back a few fights that were not going in their favor, and then of course you even had that Pulse Bomb at the end there, which was a good example of what Zvik can do with that.
I don't think I'm alone in thinking she might be the most important hero in Overwatch right now. You can put her in every composition, and she might be a little easier to play for some people than a Genji. Genji can be highly variable in different regions. I think every team needs a standout Tracer, and even towards the end, where Munchkin was the biggest impact player for them, Tvik started shifting his focus to 1v1 dueling Munchkin, which a lot of Tracers don't want to do, but he got the better of it.
Well, the thing about Tracer right now in particular, too, is that she's really good at all stages of the battle. Not only can she win battles before they even begin, whether it be on offense or defense, with sort of a hero Pulse Bomb going to the back line, finding a support, finding a key DPS, and removing them from the equation, but she's also one of the best garbage heroes in the game in terms of cleaning things up, where if you have a fight where you have a numerical advantage of like 6-3 or something like that, well, the Tracer, that's the last thing on your mind from the team that has 3. The Tracer is basically going to feast on everything. So in terms of garbage cleanup, she's great for that too. So whether it be the beginning of fights, the end of fights, Tracer is just very important right now for most teams.
Yeah, you heard it here. Tracer's going to feast on garbage. That's,
Yes.
that's your
Yes.
Overwatch cover girl, ladies and gentlemen.
You learned it at the Overwatch Contenders. Well, that brings us to our next map because, and it is going to be Laser Kitten's choice here as they lost the first one. And we've seen a little bit of what Misfits has to play because they've been playing the same map pool at Take TV. So they've been very practiced on this. And of course, Laser Kitten's, from what we're told anyway, has been practicing this map pool because they've been looking forward to this event for long enough. But we haven't been able to see what they wanted to play, and they are bringing us here to Li Zhang Tower. And I believe this is actually one of the few maps that, one map that Misfits struggled with at Take TV. I think they have a losing record on it. I have to check the stats, but Tracer definitely going to be coming to bear here, I think.
Well, this is one of Tracer's best maps. You mentioned it time and again, and also having spoken to Laser Kitten's captain, they feel comfortable in every map, obviously. They're very confident in themselves, but they think that control might be their best mode slightly. Not by a large margin, but slightly.
Well, one thing that would help them out here, too, is that if you look at historical criticism of the West versus regions like Korea right now, you see that regions like Korea are a lot better at control and assault, generally speaking. So there is the idea where Laser Kittenz has been boot camping in Korea. Maybe they'll have a little bit better prep here going into control. But either way, it will be decided by the players in the field, and they are both teams rolling out Hex.
We see a bit of that Korean flair from Laser Kittenz going to be running the Sombra. They said they liked it before they were boot camping in Korea, but obviously it's very much in meta there. The early kill comes on to Krems, as that might be bound to happen if you're going to run a Sombra, because your Sombra wants to go set up. She wants to take packs places, and you're not going to necessarily get a full fight early on.
Well, off the early kill from Zebo's side, that just made things really easy for Misfits here. They're just going to glide on in, take first control, and well, hang on. We do have a little bit of contesting coming in here from LK, but it's not much. They lose 2 people immediately and actually just delay their ability to come back in with a good push. It didn't really feel like they were actually committing to a delay there.
Not the best of decisions. It reminds me a little of what we already saw for them on Gibraltar. I don't know if they quite have the call or understanding of when they want to go in, when they want to delay, and when they don't, and I think it cost them some time on Gibraltar for sure. Now the Sombra is set up. Of course, you see a solo heal and a Sombra. She's going to be acting as the second support, and already hacking those packs. Going to make it difficult for the opposing flankers to get things done.
Well, with Reinforce out of the fight here early on, LK does have an opportunity to move this in, but it's both Winstons that end up biting the dust here. Neither Winston able to stay alive, which evens things up 5 versus 5, and LK right now really just struggling for the right entry. You see Kib coming in over the top, the rest of LK coming in more in from the front, and Misfits is more than willing to just rope and dope this back, but now with the Tac Visor, they push forward on their own. They find Sombra immediately, and even though Manitin dies, it still buys some time. That said, what was that sound there? Only Line Pro got hit by it.
I feel bad for Lucios because we only call them out when something maybe have gone wrong, but they're still trying to clean this up, I guess, and I think Line Pro wanted to be around for the next fight to make sure that they could do it.
Well, it still works out for LK in any case. They're able to get control of the point and push things right back, but Misfits can feel happy about this. 61% to 5. They're in a very good position here. The one upside for LK is that they do have a Sombra in play that has EMP charged up, and we've seen how EMP alone can really just chain fights in favor of a defense, so perhaps holding will go a little bit more in LK's favor here as the EMP being set up, it connects, hits 3 members of Misfits towards the back, but the Dragon Blade from Nevik still keeping things relatively even as both Genjis have a great fight here so far.
Nobody told Nevix, and he comes in and crashes the party just a little bit, but it does seem like the cleanup is there. This is one of the maps early on when Sombra was announced that I prophesied she would be good at, because I know how difficult it is when you play a Tracer or a Genji to not have even just the small packs out there for your cleanup. Those are the alleys you want to fight in. So you see Sombra now coming to bear here, and there's no healing aside from what you're actually getting from Misfits. So if you can get an early kill on maybe Zebo or maybe Mineral, those packs aren't going to be there for the flankers, and they're not going to feel confident engaging.
This is a really strong engage coming up here from Misfits. Reinforce can create space with Primal Rage as the sound barrier comes in. They open with the sound barrier, and now LK has to be careful here early on. Kib cannot immediately counter the Dragon Blade because of the sound barrier, and they do strike blood early on. It's 2 early kills from Misfits, and Kib probably just weighing whether or not he wants to even Dragon Blade here. It's already looking to be a 1 fight from Misfits, and Kib, he holds onto the blade, and likely rightly so.
Gray just going to try to get himself a little bit more charge as the Sombra here going to try to just pepper in some of those Uzi shots, get himself some packs, and he wants to get back up to that EMP. But, you know, meanwhile, pretty good stall going out. They bought a lot of seconds for themselves. The Laser Kittenz have put themselves on the verge of a game-winning fight, or a stage-winning fight, rather.
LK only needs to win 1 more fight, although with the progress how it is right now, they might only get one attempt. However, Banditin falls immediately here. The Helix rocket from downtown removes him from the fight, and LK, that's a signal to go. They're moving right in. Tavik able to even things out just a bit, 5 versus 5, but a sound barrier is coming in soon here, Hex, and an EMP and a Blade. Lots of momentum here for LK as Kib goes in. The Blade is out. He gets to the back line, and the supports are getting decimated for Misfits.
They went all in on it. EMP, Blade, and Sound Barrier. It's a fight that they have to win. If you don't win that fight, which one are you going to win? But at 85%, there still is a chance for a comeback here, and they're going to have Nano boost up. You think you Nano the Soldier 76 and just see what happens.
There's a lot of resources here for Misfits, but one good EMP could prevent them from using it all at the same time.
Beautiful.
The EMP comes out really early, and is the dive going to be there to capitalize? We'll have to see. Krems does strike blood early on, and yes, it appears like it's happening here for LK. The EMP sets him up despite the disadvantage in ultimates otherwise, as Kib goes to town, and all-you-can-eat sushi buffet for Kib. And that is going to lead the round 1, going the way of LK.
Well, that's always the power of EMP, just to slow them down, and you can't cast ultimates, you can't cast anything at that time. More importantly, you can't cast anything when you're dead, so the EMP sets up those kills.
The cool thing about EMP as an ability is that relative to a lot of other Overwatch, where you can kind of look at it from an wider viewing distance and go, okay, this team has an ultimate advantage, they're really likely to win this fight. EMP at times doesn't really care about how many ults that you have stored up if you don't execute it properly, because you can interrupt the flow early on. You can drop the EMP before people really commit with their resources, and then if you're down 2 or 3 players, well, it might not matter as much that you have those ultimates up.
I completely agree. And interrupt, I think, is the great term to use there. It's really smart to just think that the team has a plan, and now that plan's gone. And also, you don't have to really think about economy and ults, because EMP, it still charges very, very fast, and we've seen Sombras get even more effective at charging EMPs, something we don't see a whole lot of from the European region's EP. They're going to run a Pharah on this map.
Well, Kib is taking the skies, and he has his work cut out for him. He loses his DPS partner in Krems early on, and alrighty, the dive from Misfits, very dominating, and doesn't really leave LK with a lot of room to work with here. Kib losing teammates before his eyes, gonna have to back out, and again, Misfits with a very quick strike to get first control, in all likelihood.
Does appear so, which always makes the Pharah's job harder to come in here. You want to be able to knock them off, you want to get entry damage when they're coming in and just splash damage rockets. So Kib gonna stay on it for now, only at 28%, so he must feel pretty good about it. It's an odd Pharah to say the least, because they're not even running a Zen with this. Just a lot of confidence in his Ana.
The key here is for Kib is that Kib needs to strike first before Misfits gets damaged into the backline, and unfortunately, not gonna be the case here. Tavik, again, doing work into the back, leading the way. Big concussive blast towards the end by Kib, but not quite leading to what could have been carnage.
Yeah, Line Pro was only able to get 1 there. It looked like he was about to get 3, but Tavik has opened up really well with taking out Munchkin, and then he's running wild. They've not had a very solid answer for him.
Okay, right now, immediately diving back in. There's no chill in their offense right here. But the Transcendence comes out, and oh, is he gets back on! Just barely. You see Zemosai able to stay in as Nevix just decimates the backline. Brutality from Misfits that was really just on the edge, literally.
It's the power of faith, it must be, because he was defying gravity, defying physics. No law in the universe says that he should have gotten back up on the bridge, but when you truly believe, when you truly transcend, you ascend as well.
I mean, now you're just making think that Zenyatta is related to Peter Pan here, but you just gotta believe.
But that's Tinkerbell, right?
Yeah, something like that. Who knows about these old school stories? But Tavik moving in, pulse bomb out, does it connect? Not quite, was very close to the stick, doesn't quite get, but he's just able to work his way to the back line. So the Misfits are coming in from the front, Tavik coming in from the back, and this flank working out pretty well here so far. Laserkins has to sound barrier down players because they're frankly running out of time here. They're keeping it even, Hex, but it's still desperation in a sense nonetheless.
It's been difficult for them, and Kib finally shows up in the kill feed, got a solo barrage on it. I'm questioning the Tracer play just a little bit, but by the time they clean this up, which they will, it's going to be 99% to 0.
So the upside here for Laserkins, they got control of the point. The bad news, if they lose control of the point, they're likely going to lose the round. So they have to be perfect from here on out. Easier said than done. What does that mean? It means they're going to have to win fights at an ult disadvantage at some point into the latter part of the map. And I gotta say, in terms of ultimates and cashing in, they're gonna have a Transcendence and a Dragon Blade up soon. And so far, Nevix has been sublime on these blades. You see him moving in, he's built up the blade, he sees 3 willing participants in the back. Doesn't use Blade here just yet. Almost goes down.
It's a very nice Transcend, and the reason they have Transcend is because Gray switched over to that Zenyatta. They're running Ana earlier, which I can't imagine playing a Pharah without a Zen or even a Mercy at that point in time. So the switch came over from Gray to move from Ana to Zenyatta. It helped out their damage, it helped out their time to kill, and more importantly, it gave Kib a lot more consistent healing in the sky.
It was a really nice retreat from LK there, but it was also good patience on Nevix going, okay, he didn't really like the way the fight was going, holds the Blade. Now he has it for this next fight where things can be very effective. And here comes the Blade right now. Nevix rolling in. It's 3 early kills here from Misfits. The barrage from Kib not able to do anywhere near the work it was looking for. And now LK backs against the wall here once more as they have to try and delay this and flip it back over, which is easier said than done.
Poor Line Pro. All he wanted to do was dance and listen to music. And this must be the town that Footloose was filmed in, because they do not allow dancing, they do not allow music, and he's killed before he can break it down. However, he'll have it if he gets back in here. It's just going to be difficult.
Well, this is where it is the Hail Mary of Overwatch, where you throw everything you have, you're outnumbered, you're outgunned, but you hope for the miracle. And that miracle, it would come from Munchkin if anyone else. It's usually Tracer that has the hero play to bring back situations like this, but Munchkin is surrounded by enemies on all sides. There's a little bit of support coming in here, but Misfits cleaning up player after player as they desperately come in. Mao is down, Munchkin is down, and that is going to be the round here for Misfits.
I think we're overall a little surprised whenever we see Pharah in EU, and perhaps it's, you know, a little bit of our bias of seeing so many teams in North America run just pure Pharah Mercy combos. But I think, I mean, it's almost a little bit of hubris to think that we can run Pharah and not even run a Zen with her. I mean, that's putting a lot of pressure on your Ana player to constantly hit those healing shots. And it's almost too distracting because she's got to heal on 2 different planes.
Well, the other thing, too, is that when we see Pharah Mercy do really, really well, it's usually when the Pharah is just very durable, where it's not just, you can't just poke the Pharah away and the Pharah has to run and heal. It's the Pharah has a consistent source of healing, which lets the Pharah be aggressive, which lets the Pharah dive in on opportunities and perhaps pursue barrages that they otherwise wouldn't. It wasn't the most classical of successful Pharah comps, to say the least.
You at least need the orb. You need the orb to be able to operate with the faith that you have to. Courtyard fight opens up, both teams dropping bubbles, and we'll see which team wants to rotate early onto the point here. The dive does come in, and they're able to take out Krems with it as Mineral joins his Winston.
Misfits is just really good at these early dives. They've been catching Lasercans off guard far more than the reverse. However, Kib says, you know what? Let's tilt the odds. Picks up 2 towards the end. Not sure if it's going to be enough, though. He's just lost so many teammates in this situation. And I got to say, the coordination that we're seeing between Reinforce and Nevix on this dive early on has been putting Misfits in a consistently good position. And it does lead to them getting first control of the point once more.
I was dancing around it a little of why I didn't love the Pharah, but I just think Kib is a better Genji than he is a Pharah, and I think it works better in this composition. You're seeing it right now as that they get to the reinforce of their supports, and the DPS come alive for Laser Kittens.
It was Kib who kept the hope alive there, where, yes, Laserkins was losing people, but Kib was doing enough damage, getting enough kills that once respawns came in, they were able to flip that back in their favor. So I tend to agree with you. I do think that Kib's Genji is certainly a cut above, and I'm not even trying to make a pun there.
You don't even have to try anymore, ZP. You've been casting so long, it's second nature. You speak in puns.
I'm just one with the dad jokes, man. That's all I have to say. But this time, Laserkins keeping control of the courtyard. They get 2 early on there, and Misfits, despite early engages early on that were very solid, a little bit sloppy from them.
Yeah, this triple DPS has worked out very much better than the Pharah did. And yes, Pharah is a DPS, but you know what I mean. This is the classic triple DPS that you're seeing out of a lot of teams. You get your double hit scan, and you get your Genji in there as well, and it just works in such a great theory that you're able to get the mobility in there. Transcend pops off.
Transcend pops off, but LK has so many tools to deal with this. Here comes Dragon Blade from Kib towards the tail end of Transcendence, and they deep dive with authority. Misfits ejected from this point, courtesy of Kib's Blade, although they give up the point of the process. Misfits, they get the cap in the middle of it.
Yeah, but it's they just cleanly won that fight. I guess the only mark on that record would be that, again, I'm not sure that Line Pro needed to sound barrier, but I think he was denied music so much in the last fight that he needs to hear it.
The one good thing here for Misfits, they only threw 2 ultimates into them, the Blade and the Transcendence. They still have a lot on deck for this next fight, so LK cannot rest easily. Misfits very likely to be all in here. There's a sound barrier and Tac Visor coming up, Reinforced deep diving with that support, and they immediately strike Pater. They get rid of the problem in Kib. And this goes from bad to worse for LK. Misfits, well on their way to retaking this point.
It's my favorite icon in the kill feed, the Winston jump landing kill, because you don't see it too often, but I guess it's been referred to as the Goomba Stomp, but just crushed it, landed perfectly onto Kib, and it does a lot of damage. The best Winstons, we always look for these small things that the best are doing that others aren't. The best Winstons are landing those jumps and getting impact damage.
I really want to see a skin where Winston is Mario now, or just Mario inspired, with the appropriate sound effects. That would just make my life complete.
It's recency bias. CP's been playing Mario Kart all day.
I don't know what you're talking about. Reinforce, though, gets Crims immediately in this fight. It's another good engage from Reinforce. And again, once Misfits gets that early kill, without abandon, they just go. They remove the other team from the fight, and LK now in a bit of trouble. They still have plenty of time to work with, but they do need to disengage from this fight because you just see Tvik rolling around, getting the cleanup with Reinforce. Although, tell that the Munchkin, who is still being a pain in the back.
Yeah, and he's able to actually get Nevix. I was really on board with tell that to Munchkin because he needed the memo to get out. This is one of those situations that I'm still a little bit worried, but kill feed now proving me wrong. I still feel like it was a fight that had been lost, and we see teams fall into this trap all the time, but so close right now.
This is closer than it probably should be for how this engaged from Blazerkins, but they did make an opportunity there where there probably shouldn't have been one. The problem is that when they failed to capitalize on that, Misfits is now in a much better position. They are one fight away from taking this round, which would put them one round away from taking the series. So a lot of pressure here on Blazerkins, and all eyes here on Munchkin and Crims as they come in with the Sound Bear engage.
Well, Nevix can shut this down as well. He's got his own Dragon Barrier up, but this is the last fight for the Night Market.
Nevix right now getting into the indoor area, slicing, not able to find what he's looking for, but it's okay. Tvik has him on the backside. 5 versus 5 right now, but look at Kib. Still has the Dragon Blade in reserve. Will he be able to pop it here? He doesn't really have the health to do so. He's getting poked down, and no, the blade never even comes out from Kib as Misfits is able to clear them off the point. And though they came close to flipping it, it's not quite enough. And Misfits will take the Night Market.
Oddly enough, what bought critical seconds there was Mineral got really low, and he went to the Lucio window. Everyone knows what the Lucio window is on this point, right? But he started getting healed up by Zebosai, who got the orb, and that made them commit really hard on him to try to go outside, and that bought them the time that they needed to start getting in more damage and bringing that fight back. I think if Mineral goes down there early, it might be a different fight.
It very well could have been a different fight if Mineral bit the dust early, and I do wonder if Kib just held on the blade a little bit too long there. Obviously, you don't want to throw it into support ultimates, but you are in a round winning or losing fight. It's hard to say. In any case, Laser Kittens, if they're going to come back in the series, Hex, it must begin now. They have no more mulligans, no more room for error. They need to come back here, take the garden, and force a round 5. Otherwise, Misfits will be moving on here today.
Well, speaking of mulligans, I think they would rather go to a different map than this one. Did not look great here early on, but they've learned from their mistakes at the very least. So in what I considered a mistake anyway, is that Kib will not be running the Pharah, and Gray's actually going to start out on the Zenyatta, excuse me. So early on, they're just trading back and forth. So far, a little bit better for Laser Kittens on the trades, but Tvik comes in here and evens it up.
But definitely more comfortable playing without the Pharah, but Tvik, the X Factor right now, comes in, grabs 2 immediately, and he's untouched right now. He's still darting in and around the point, and very well could lead to Misfits getting this first control, and LK actually decides, you know what, we don't even want to continue delaying this out. We're just gonna back off, reset. We have time.
I'm gonna go through the Overwatch time machine now and remember when Tvik and used to be able to play 2 Tracers, and Tvik was part of a duo on this map, and they terrorized this map as Tracer.
Well, Laserkins is coming back in force here. They get the early kill to Nevix, and now they're pushing it right back. But Tvik again is saying, no way, you're not getting back in onto this point right now, is being the glue for Misfits in what was an otherwise fight that could have went against them.
And it's no surprise. I've seen Tvik crush on this map for over a year now. Literally over a year since this map was released. Tvik's Tracer on this map has been superb.
Misfits now very much reestablishing. The Transcendence lets them go a little bit deeper. Laserkins pushed back. Maybe they come back in here, but they're down 2. It would be poor form to come in with a blade, with a sound barrier here just yet, but time is quickly getting away from the next. It's about to be 50% for Misfits, so if they're not able to win this next ultimate showdown here, which it should well be, you might have to stick a fork in Laserkins because they should be done.
This is a fight they have to win, especially if they commit as much as I think they're going to commit to this. They're looking for an entry kill, trying to get Tvik very low. Self-destruct comes and gets nothing. Transcend pops off over the bridge, but they get knocked back. Some decent peel.
It's going to be a tale of 2 blades here, potentially. I'm not sure if Kib really needs to pull it out, though, and I'm not sure Nevix wants to with how if this fight is breaking down. It was a good tank support engage from Laser Kittenz. And though Krems explores the lower levels courtesy of Reinforce, should be a recap here from LK, but I don't know, there's delay coming in from Misfits. Maybe they pull this back. It'll be difficult though.
The delay's been great. It started with that Primal Rage knocking Krems off there, and it's been so back and forth. The stall out, the Diva now comes in, and this has been really difficult for Laser Kittenz to just complete a fight.
I wonder if Laser Kittenz just got too greedy there and trying to finish that out. Krems didn't need to be near the ledge. They had multiple kills. They were near the point. I think Laser Kittenz dove too deep to finish things off, and now at 98%, they have to get on the point. Misfits zoning them out. It is now do or die for the Kittenz. Here comes Kip. Last moment desperation Dragon Blade. Looking for anything. Kip not really in the best positions here, but does have reinforcements coming in. Misfits, though, on the verge of taking it all. They just need to flush Laser Kittenz off of this point. They come in with the Transcendence, but very little actually being killed right now.
No, they were just in their stallings. They've just been unable to complete an entirety of a fight, as it's been all Misfits on this stage in particular. Munchkin finds his own demise somewhere in this fight. Desperation comes in from Gray, but it's not going to be there. As EP, you prophesize that there is Mandata's gold at the bottom of Sanctum. At the